and welcome. My name is Derek Schraner. I'm the designer and writer of various game books, including Hikikomori, the Operation CanCon series, and the Break System series of game books. The last time I did one of these videos, I was talking about the summer job, and I closed off by saying, well, I have to go now. I have to write the follow-up, the sequel. Well, today that's what I'm here to talk to you about. The Fall Affair. So it's a matte finish softcover. It's 14 centimeters wide by 22 centimeters high. That's about 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches high. It has the usual sort of 3.3 grid design that I use on this series in a style that's inspired by old Saul Bass credits. This time in the colors of the season, Halloween. Of course, this preview proof has a band on it here, not for resale. This won't appear on any copies that you would buy. On the side, we have the spine here with the title and my name. And on the back cover, we have a couple of blurbs. Unfinished business at an unfinished casino, beside the Lockdown Ludnot logo here. And I'll just read the back here. Your mission takes you away from the bustling streets of Kyoto to a long-abandoned casino in Ontario. It's the weekend after Halloween, and the chill isn't from the autumn. Your target? A doomsday device with a secret link to your past. Its lingering effects make even the simplest things terrifying. With the stakes now higher than ever, success may cost more than expected. The Fall Affair is a standalone trip in the Break System series. A 6-sided die is recommended, but not required for your journey. The gamebook also includes several additional activities, from bonus minigames to a curated musical playlist. The heist is on, and this time, it is haunted. Okay, so that's the outside of the book. Now, as for the inside, let's just page through the front matter here. Frontispiece, and other books, and credits, and table of contents. This book is 320 pages long, and it's 222 sections in the game book. So each section is on average nearly a page and a half long. There's an introduction, there's the main game book, there are the appendices, which we'll talk about later. And the introduction reads, this book tells an interactive crime story. Your choices shape how the mission evolves. Start reading on the next page, section 0, and at the end of each section, you may either be sent to a new section or offered a choice of multiple sections. Follow the instructions to move the plot along until you've reached any of various possible endings. This book is the second in a trilogy, and one path is part of an ongoing narrative, but feel free to explore other branches as well. While all choices are yours, you may benefit from the roll of a 6-sided die, or D6. Its randomness reflects those moments shaped by inattention, uncertainty, or chance. Every development is valid, not every ending is bad, and even true paths may lead to unexpected outcomes. If you reach an ending but want to see where a different choice may have gone, you can always return to your last decision or simply start afresh. Remember, there are no wrong choices, just different stories. The journey is yours to experience, and the adventure is up to you. Happy heisting. So it's a little bit different than its predecessor. It doesn't require you to have read The Summer Job, although it does take place slightly after the events of that story. It takes place in the autumn instead of the summertime, and it takes place in Canada as opposed to Japan. But it's different in other ways too. For example, it now adds to the choices of the first book by introducing random chance through dice. Parts of the experience which use dice appear outlined from the rest of the story. Now, keep in mind that using dice is entirely optional in a couple of respects. If you want to use dice, but you don't have any handy, you can always use this matrix included at the back of the book. And if you don't want any randomness at all, you can simply make whichever choices arbitrarily yourself. And just so you know, the use of dice and randomness in general is not intended to be unfair or anything like that. You're not going to roll wrong and suddenly have, be summarily ended, being killed off or anything like that. The use of the dice will simply change the flavor of the experience that you get. When you succeed or you fail at a mini game, it doesn't mean you win or lose overall. It just changes the experience to be spookier, in keeping with the Halloween theme, essentially. And I talk a little bit more about how to play these dice games in a separate how to play video. It's also a little bit different from the first book in terms of its story, whereas in the Summer Job, in the first story, there were essentially 3 streams, as I think of them. One was a bit of a tutorial. It was a little bit of an overview tour of the locations that would sort of give you details and give you clues about the experience. Another stream was kind of an open world experience where you could wander through the world, gathering clues, planning the heist, all of that kind of thing. And then the third stream was the final job, when you decided, okay, I'm ready, I know as much as I think I'm going to need, and I'm ready to start the final mission. This one is a little bit different than that. In this, there are sort of 2 main streams, and one of them is optional, and one of them makes up the vast majority of the book. The one stream is a tutorial, which gives you a little bit of a heist planning situation. The second stream is not quite open world. It's more like a series of connected hubs. There's 11 in all, and when you're inside a hub, you can kind of wander around it and have different experiences and stuff like that. But once you leave that hub and you proceed to the next one, you can't go back to the original hub. You kind of ratchet through. So every time you kind of advance, you have nowhere to go but forward. You can't go back once you decide to leave a particular hub. And that will happen in 11 different settings, essentially. Now, I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just debating whether I should talk much about this. But there's also a mechanism whereby it is possible that you may think you've lost the game or had a particular ending, but it doesn't mean that the experience stops. It is possible to do things like, if you are captured, the game can continue and you can try to escape. Or even if you think you've been captured successfully and imprisoned, it doesn't end. There is still more to the experience. There are hubs of their own for those experiences. But I'll let you sort of discover that for yourself. Anyway, you can read and reread the game book multiple times, and every time you do, you can have different experiences, whether it's because of your choices or the influence of randomness. And just like in the Summer Job here, there are other activities in the appendices if you'd like. There's several of them. For example, there's the vocabulary scavenger hunt, closing time bingo, which is analogous to the previous book's happy end of the world bingo. Retlaw's rotator minigame, which is roughly analogous to the original one, which was Retlaw's race car minigame. And then there's selected music for a fall affair. So these give you other little things that you can do, for example. And whereas the vocabulary in the first book focused on Japanese terms, this one focuses more on French terms that are used as appropriate to Canada. The closing time bingo is various different endings. For example, it says there are 12 different endings. These are just 9. How many of them have ended you? The minigame, again, is a separate game that is not necessary to the story, but it's something that is a little bit more detailed and a little bit more complex that you can assemble the pieces of by going through the main adventure. And when you've assembled them all and arranged them in order, they give you the instructions to a further game based on this world. And finally, selected music for a fall affair, which is music that I sort of think of as a soundtrack to this. It's appropriate to the Canadian location and to the time period that the story is set in. Roughly, it's sort of give or take a few years, but it's what I think of as sort of the official soundtrack of the feelings of each of the hubs that you go through and the adventures that you have. Anyway, that's the Fall Affair. It was an interesting experience writing it. It was a little strange, mainly because I knew that I wanted to have a specific Halloween theme, and yet when I wrote it, it was the last 2 months of summer, essentially. So I had to kind of put myself in this mindset. And it was similar to the first book. When I wrote The Summer Job, I was writing it during the winter, and I had to imagine it was summertime. And not only that it was summertime, but that I was in Japan. So I had to kind of mentally put myself in that place and time and all of that. And it was similar with this, with The Fall Affair, where it was summertime out, and I had to imagine that it was kind of dark and spooky and overcast and everything like that. And I imagine I'll have a similar experience when I write the next book, which has more of a December holiday theme, and meanwhile it will be autumn. But that's a tale for another time. But until that point, The Fall Affair is available for purchase, as is The Summer Job, the first book. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to share it with someone that you think might appreciate it. Like it. Leave a comment. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to get back to you and respond to whatever you have to say. But until then, I'll talk to you again next time. Take care, and bye for now.